Hey everyone, welcome back to Nascent Rise. Today's video is going to be a little different. This is not a technical analysis channel, but I had some thoughts this morning that I wanted to kind of share with you guys. So let me start by saying this is not financial advice. I'm just giving you insight into my plan and what I'm doing to prepare myself for my financial future. And I think that digital assets, primarily Bitcoin, is a large part of that. So, back here, when I started this channel, one of my first videos was about the value of Bitcoin. And that video was published in March of 2022. I entered crypto in the 2020 cycle, and probably somewhere around here when I heard about it, and I was a skeptic, and I was buying Bitcoin, but I was also trading it, through this. And then when I published the video, I had more experience with Bitcoin, and the price was around $40,000. But just imagine none of this, existed, and we were here. So I could see this trend. Like I said, I was more informed about Bitcoin, which gave me stronger conviction. So when the price, dropped significantly, I was still buying Bitcoin, mainly DCAing, which is dollar cost averaging, and I was getting, Bitcoin cheaper, cheaper, and cheaper here. I didn't time the bottom, so like I said, I was buying all throughout here. I was also buying on the way down, and of course on the way up. Now, this major move here was mainly the market pricing in a Bitcoin ETF. So we had the futures, the Bitcoin future, but we didn't have the ETF. And the SEC was very negative towards digital assets. That was when we were still dealing with Gary and the Biden administration. So since then, you can see what Bitcoin's done, and right around here, January of 2024, that was when the SEC approved the Bitcoin and then later Ethereum ETFs. So you can see what happened with price. It shot up. So that gets me into kind of like where we are now, and what I think could happen. And like I said, this is no way a guarantee. Nobody can predict the future. I'm not good at timing, bottoms or tops. I mean, I have a general idea. I get close sometimes, but this is still very risky stuff. The best strategy is just to buy, Bitcoin or any asset, even equities, with some regularity, just every week, month, whatever. So after this run up, we can see that lasted from, the sideways price action. It took about 70 days to get there. And then, we kind of peaked. So this was the first leg up. And then, price moved down and to the right. So this in this channel. So this price move here took about 154 days. And then what happened? We hit this strong, support for price. And this is basically support during a bull run. And price bottomed here. It came up to the top of the channel. It broke, and then it took off. Price took off again, right? So from this low here to this high here was about 98 days. So we were kind of in that same situation now, right? I mean, things are kind of repeating in the cycle. So you can see Bitcoin price topped out around 108,000, and it's been slowly moving down. And we have different narratives now, right? Like with the tariffs and everything else. But Guys, a lot of that stuff is noise. You look at the charts. The charts can tell you a lot, and they're not subjective. This is all based on human emotion and fear and greed, which mainly drives the markets. So right now, Bitcoin is about $85,000, $84,000, and then tag this support line here in this channel. Now, is this the bottom? Right now, we don't know. The price could go lower, so I'm looking here around 74, which that could be support. That might be it for this leg. I'm also looking here at around the high 60s, and I can show you why I say that. So if you look at the EMAs, here's the first level of strong support that I mentioned, and here would be, if price got here, it would be under the 50, which is a great time, probably one of the best times to buy. And we have a lot of support here. And it would also be a lot of fear, right? People would, either if they were holding, it would sell, or they just might not stop buying. They might say, oh, well, it's at 66,000, we could go as low as, in the 50s again. I mean, which is possible. We don't know. Is it likely? I don't think so. There's just so much more demand now with hedge funds. We have like I said, we have the ETF. There's just so many more catalysts. States, other states, other countries possibly buying. It's just a different, environment. So I doubt very seriously we get back to these levels again. Again, it's possible. And this would be, a huge, buying opportunity, a gift actually. So anyway, so let's look at what could happen next. So the last period in this channel lasted about 154 days. So I'm showing you here from the peak out to what could be the end of the price action moving down. So roughly 160 days, and then price could turn around. So let's just say this is the bottom. Price is up here. It could slowly come down here, tag this line, and then as we've seen in the past, it only takes about 90 days for us to go from the bottom to the peak. So here was about 70 days. So I picked some time in between. It could be longer, who knows? But if price bottomed here and then peaked here, that would put us at around August of this year. So price could top out around 120 for this cycle, or even 130, somewhere in here. Like I said, this is all speculation. Do not make investments based on this. This is just my idea, my thoughts, based on my experience, and I'm thinking about how I want to position myself. So yes, I dollar cost average into assets, but I also do something called dynamically DCAing, which means that I buy more as price comes down, because like I said, we may not see these prices again. Of course, who knows, right? But there's less risk buying down here than there is up here, right? Because if you buy up here and price moves down, it stays down, and who knows, like if that was a top, we enter a bear market, and then we end up prices back here again for the next couple years. That's a long time to be down on your investment, and it does something to your psyche, psychological. So don't do that. Don't buy, don't go all in at the top. When there's a lot of euphoria, everything's positive. Basically when it looks like Bitcoin can only go up, or any asset. Like I said, be patient, wait for price to fall back, and have a plan. So like if Bitcoin comes back into this area again, especially if it drops below, I'm going to be buying more. Like I said, I'm going to continue to buy how I buy, but I'm going to buy more. So that's all I wanted to show you guys and share with you. It's Bitcoin has been, a very good investment for me. Had I timed the bottom, but like I said, I didn't. I could have done a lot better, right? So if I hadn't bought up here and I had bought here, Bitcoin from the bottom to where price topped, that was about let's just round it up and call it a 600, percent, gain in price. You know, the only other asset I know that has performed better than Bitcoin in this time frame is Nvidia. So those are the two top performing assets. I think that Bitcoin has a longer future, and there's definitely less risk. You don't have corporate, execution risk. You don't have, there are no shareholders, none of that stuff with Bitcoin. It's just, a pure asset, scarce. You don't have to worry about shareholder dilution, because, it has, close to zero inflation. And I believe this is the future. This is the future reserve, currency. Right now, the top spot is gold. Everyone believes in that because it's been around the longest. Makes sense. But I think that, Bitcoin is better than gold. And I'm betting that, that thesis will, play out in the future. So anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.